How do I even start this thing? I don't know. Recording YouTube video is a new thing. I keep trying different ways. I've written scripts, and then I keep feeling weird because I'm looking off to the side or down below the whole time, and that's weird. Even trying to look up, it's tricky. And I just become obsessed with trying to make it perfect. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Am I supposed to look directly into the camera? I watch other YouTubers. I guess that's what they do, right? And they look off to the side. They've got notes, but some they have full teleprompters, but then they're more professional. So I don't know. If you've got any thoughts, leave them in the comments down below. Hey everyone, Andre here, aka your partner's favorite launch title, here on the Gaming Fix YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below to keep up to date with everything we're posting, and you can also find my Twitch link down below, and you can find me streaming about 3 days a week right now, probably down to 2 days a week once we get back into the school year. And with that, let's start talking about this week's news. So this week we got the news that Microsoft's flagship launch title for the new Xbox, the Xbox Series X, and probably Series S, is getting delayed just 3 weeks after we saw the big gameplay demo at their Xbox Game Showcase in July. And the response to that was pretty tepid. People clowning on the looks of the Brute, who is now apparently the mascot, according to Phil Spencer, and just the general visuals. Personally, it looked like Halo, which is, I guess, what people want, but also it didn't look next-gen enough, which I agree with. I think Microsoft has done a poor job of showing why we need the new consoles, but that's not really what this is about. Understandably, the delay makes sense. COVID-19 is wreaking havoc on game development. It's not the first game to be delayed. It's not the last game to be delayed for certain. But it's maybe the most high-profile delay so far because of how much that Microsoft has been touting it for the past year or two. As we've seen E3 for 2 years. I can't remember exactly when they said it would be launching with the Series X. They kind of announced the Series X when they unveiled the One X. They said, we're working on it. Obviously, that's not a formal unveiling, but they had talked about it at least. And I feel like 2 years ago they said, maybe not 2 years ago. Anyway, that's not important. Game development's tough. The last 10% of the game is supposedly the most difficult part, and where it all comes together, bringing just everything, those systems together, making it all work, getting bugs ironed out. And they're doing all this remotely, working from home because pandemic. So if they need more time, they should take more time. But that puts Microsoft in an awkward spot with the Xbox Series X because they don't have a launch lineup that they've shown. They put out a press release saying, play thousands of games on the Xbox Series X at launch. And yeah, you got backwards compatibility. That works. But I can also play all those games on the One X or the One S, which are going to be much cheaper than whatever the Series X is. The One X has been discontinued, sure, but they don't have much in the way of what is the driving force. Why do you need to get a One X or a Series X? The Series X. Because if you can play most of the games on the older consoles, there's no higher frame rates are nice. Loading times, which I assume are much faster on the Series X, are much better, but with how much that box is going to cost, which we still don't know, it's tricky. Because in their launch lineup announcement, not thousands of games, They specifically call out a few games that will be launching. It sounds like launching with the Series X, The Medium, and Scorn, and Tetris Effect Connected. The Medium looks interesting, by Blooper Team, Blooper Team, who've made pretty good horror games in the past. And Scorn, which I guess has been kicking around for a while, they showed it off at the third-party showcase they did in May. Was it that long ago? And a very Geiger-inspired game. Those are two horror games, which they do well on like Twitch and stuff for streaming, but I don't think horror games tend to sell very well outside of like a Resident Evil. So the 3 games they're pushing, 2 horror games, and Tetris Effect Connected, which is already available on PC and PS4, and it'll play, I'm assuming, on basically any sort of PC you have. I'll look up the system requirements in a bit here, and we can take a look at that. I'll throw them up on screen. But they're not offering much. Their whole selling point for the console has been Game Pass, but if there's nothing on Game Pass that I can't already play outside of 2 horror games, which may or may not interest you, probably not, then why get the console? It's starting to feel like they should just delay the console release too, and they can't. There's plenty of reasons they can't do that, but what if they did? I think a lot of Microsoft's issue here with this Halo delay could be alleviated if this information was accompanied by another announcement. If they had included, or if they had held this announcement until they were able to fully detail their launch lineup, which is apparently still very hit or miss, and that's okay. But without some other real news to go with it, it makes everything seem that much more dire for the console. Everyone's already asking, why should I buy an Xbox Series X if those games are all going to play on other consoles? And not every game launching on the Series X is going to play on the One X or the One S. The Medium and Scorn both are not going to be on the One series, or the Xbox One consoles. So they do have games that aren't available on the older consoles. They're not the first-party games, and honestly, the Medium, from at least the videos, looks like it has the potential to really show off the power of that system, but they haven't detailed it enough to really let us know why we should care about that game outside of it looking interesting. In terms of next genness of it, what's there? I have some ideas, but they're just ideas. They're not substantiated by anything that I've seen. Without a flagship first-party title to show off the power of the Series X, it's starting to just feel like another mid-generation upgrade, like the One X was or the PS4 Pro was. And that's maybe the direction things are going in the future. We'll get every 3-4 years, probably get a new generation, maybe 2, but that seems fast to me. I don't know about you, but Sony at the moment has at least gone out of their way to say, here is what the new generation is going to offer in terms of hard drive speed, or SSD speed rather, with stuff like the Ratchet and Clank demo, and pointing out this is possible because of the new storage solution, or Spider-Man fast travel stuff. Maybe I've missed it, but it doesn't seem like Microsoft has come out to really talk about the way this new hardware is being used and how games are making progress by using it. And you can debate whether quick loading times are meaningful progress, but if I don't have to sit in a Destiny loading screen for 20 seconds to a minute, that's all right to me. But they don't have any flagship games at launch, so what are they doing? But there are some other rumors going around about Sony and the PS5, specifically about the PS5, and that maybe it's not as powerful as... Well, it's certainly not as powerful. We've seen the numbers. Teraflops don't matter, is what everyone says. I'm no tech expert, but beyond the teraflop stuff, it's the dynamic clock speed and things like that have some rumors flying around that multi-platform games on the PS5 will not run as well as they will on the Xbox Series X. That makes sense. It's not the first time it's happened with Sony consoles, especially now with like the One X. God, this name. The One X runs games typically better than the PS4 Pro, but the PS4 runs it better than like the One S or the original one. They're always leapfrogging each other. But rumors also say that the PS5 will be more expensive, but it's at least theoretically got Spider-Man Miles Morales coming, but we're still waiting on launch lineup there. So if you're not interested in the PS5 exclusives, you're not interested in Horizon or Spider-Man or whatever Naughty Dog does next, God of War, any of those, then it probably makes sense to get an Xbox. But you're definitely not gonna want to get one soon, because there's nothing to play on it really. I just don't know. Microsoft has a lot of studios. Presumably you'll be able to play Psychonauts 2 on that Series X, but I don't think you're going to need it unless they really poorly optimize that game. The really interesting thing to me with this Halo delay is that they've been pushing it so hard, especially since that Xbox Game Showcase. They would not stop talking about Halo. They would not stop. Keighley was like, everyone wants to see Halo, 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 Halo. And then we saw Halo, and everyone, yeah, that's Halo. Maybe a little too much Halo and not enough future Halo, I guess. And then they started leaking, or they started leaking things out about multiplayer being free, 120 FPS. That's great. That sounds awesome. Console 120 FPS, free to play multiplayer Halo. I think that would sell a lot of maybe sell a lot of consoles. Most console gamers are not going to see 120 FPS because they're not going to buy a TV with like HDMI 2.1 and 4K, 120, maybe 1080, 120. I don't know. That's a whole other thing. There'll be a limited subsection of people who are actually making use of that. But it's cool that it's there. And now that also is pushed off sometime into 2021, but we don't know exactly when in 2021. What if, they're not going to do this, but what if they released just the multiplayer? They can't. They probably can't, because it's probably still a mess too, bugs and whatnot. But even if they just did the multiplayer, I don't know. So there are my thoughts on the Halo Infinite delay and the Xbox Series X and the Series S as we head into August, when we're supposed to get some more news about the upcoming consoles. It still remains to be seen. We need a launch lineup for both of these consoles. Obviously, we need price. Can't buy it without price, but we need to know launch lineups so we can decide if it's worth spending that money. Because most people aren't going to be swayed by Scorn or the Medium. Maybe enough people will be, but anyways, how about you leave a comment down below and let me know what you think of the Halo Infinite delay and where Microsoft is going next. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button down below and get notified for all our future videos. And you can follow me on Twitch once again at the link below and see me a few times a week streaming. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.